The Atlanta Braves got their first series sweep over the weekend, taking all 3 games against the Minnesota Twins. And all anybody can talk about is Jarred Kelenic and Ronald Acuña Jr. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Monday, April 21st. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, bravestoday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. Ton of fun stuff came to the Substack over the weekend. We did a deep dive into Bryce Elder on Sunday. Debuted a new feature on Sunday afternoon after the Twins win. And this morning, wrote about the trade for reliever Scott Blewett. We'll touch on that a little bit in the third segment, as well as a short preview of this Cardinals series. But let's talk about the Ronald Acuña Jr. thing. Let's talk about the series win. We're going to take the win first, okay? Let's get the baseball stuff out of the way, right? The actual games. The Braves take all 3 games of the series against the Minnesota Twins, 6-4 on Friday, 4-3 on Saturday, and 6-2 on Sunday. And a couple thoughts that I had here. We did postcasts for all 3, so if you want the immediate reaction, Locked On Sports Atlanta, you can go check that out. But my first thoughts is that while this isn't the perfect, ideal version of the Atlanta Braves, this version absolutely was good enough to take a lesser team in Minnesota and sweep a series. It's hard to beat any team 3 times in a row. It doesn't matter who it is. And so it's objectively a good thing that you were able to go take down Minnesota and take that series so that you don't continue to fall behind. The Braves are now 8-13. They are half a game back of the Washington Nationals as they try to get out of last place. 6.5 game back of the division-leading New York Mets. And the Mets and Phillies will be facing off with each other this week. They get to beat up on each other a little bit, and you hopefully can gain a little bit of ground while you have some easier matchups. The Twins, 7-15. They're somehow only in 4th place in the AL Central because it's not a good division. But they have a worse record than the Braves do now. They are only team behind them is the Chicago White Sox at 5-16. So a team that is struggling, a team that you should have beat, but you still did beat them. So let's not dismiss this simply because they're a bad team. Again, hard to beat any team 3 times. And when you look at the way the weekend went, there's a couple things to be excited about, right? Alex Verdugo was the leadoff hitter for all 3 games. He is not the platonic ideal of a leadoff hitter, but he's the closest thing you have right now to a leadoff hitter for the roster. With Jurickson Profar suspended, with Michael Harris seemingly unable to draw a walk, Alex Verdugo is the closest thing you have to a typical leadoff hitter, right? He doesn't strike out a ton. He puts the ball in play a lot. And so you have an opportunity to get a guy on base. And that's really all you can ask for. He opened his Braves career 0-for-5 on Friday night. Struck out only once. Put 4 balls into play. I believe 3 of them were hard hit balls that all fell for outs. So welcome to the Atlanta Braves, Alex Verdugo. But he recovers from that. He goes 4-for-5 with an RBI and 2 runs scored on Saturday. He arguably, while he did not have the biggest hits, he had the most hits of anybody. And then on Sunday, he goes 1-for-4. Again, no strikeouts. He has struck out a grand total of 1 time in his first 14 at-bats as an Atlanta Brave, which is, at this point, the most you can ask for from a leadoff hitter for the Atlanta Braves, is just put the ball in play, have a chance to make something happen. Don't strike out all the time. But we saw the Braves do this a couple different ways. On Friday, they go 3 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They had a big 5-run 8th inning that did not involve hitting a home run. Atlanta had 1 home run in that entire game, and it was a solo shot from Jarred Kelenic in the 5th. Outside of that, it was just hitting, stringing together base hits, and moving the line along, passing the baton. So shout out to the Braves for the way they did it on Friday night. Bryce Elder pitched well enough to keep them in the game. 4 runs on 6 hits and 3 walks across 5 innings. Wasn't great, but it was enough where you were not down in a 10-run hole and you had a chance to come back, which they did. Saturday, again, the big Alex Verdugo game. This is something Michael Harris had a big home run, but it was just a lot of timely hitting. Atlanta was able to keep the line moving. They go 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position, so they got a couple hits in those situations. Michael Harris had his solo shot was 1 of 2 runs in the 6th. And, Olsen scored 2, had 2 RBI. He drove in 2. And this was another short outing from Chris Sale. And the concern here for me is Chris Sale's going backwards in his outings. His first 2 times out, he completed the 5th inning. He came back out against LA for the 6th, but didn't record it out. He completed the 5th inning in his first 2 outings, pitch counts in the mid-80s. Then against Philly, 5 runs and 4 2/3, doesn't get out of the 5th. Against Tampa Bay, 4 1/3 at 98 pitches. Against Philly, he was at 86 for 4 2/3. 4 1/3 against Tampa Bay, 98 pitches. Against Minnesota, 4 1/3, 98 pitches. So he's going backwards on the length of his outings while also increasing his pitch count. It's very frustrating. He's frustrated. We heard it in the post-game press conference. This is entirely speculation, right? This is not reporting. I don't have any sort of inside info here. I would not be shocked if we found out that Chris Sale is pitching through something. I would not be shocked to find out that the back is flaring up again. Something is bothering him. But because they lost Ronaldo Lopez, because they were in a losing streak and all of that, he said, I'm going to keep pitching. I'm going to go out there and do everything I can to keep Atlanta in it. I wouldn't be stunned. I'll put it that way. Again, we don't know anything. He's not said anything about it. From what I understand, he's not the type of guy who would just complain about a nagging little minor injury publicly. But I wouldn't be shocked if we found out that's what's going on. The back's bothering him. His shoulder is sore. Something that's keeping him from being the Chris Sale of last year. Because the velocity against Minnesota, up until that final inning, the velocity was where it's always been. That final inning, he had a couple 99-mile-an-hour fastballs. He wore down quickly. But before that, velocity was where it was. The strikeouts, for the most part, have been there. He has 32 strikeouts in 23 1/3 innings. It's a very Chris Sale thing to do. His changeup hasn't been as good as usual. The locations are a little less crisp than they were last year. So, again, wouldn't be shocked if he was playing through something. And then on Sunday, 6-2. And this is something where the Braves hit a couple home runs. Drake Baldwin has an opposite field shot, his first Truist Park home run. Matt Olson put up a 2-run homer in the first. Baldwin was a 2-run home run in the third. Marcell Ozuna added a solo shot in the fourth. In the second inning, Atlanta scores a run on 3 consecutive singles. I believe it was Kelenic, Verdugo, Riley. So they did a little small ball. They did some home run hitting. They did everything. Grant Holmes gives you 5 2/3 innings, 1 run on 4 hits. He walked 4, little too many walks, but he did enough to win. You did not need to use Raisel Iglesias a third straight day because the lead was big enough where it wasn't a safe situation. 4-run lead. Aniel De Los Santos gave you, I think he gave you an inning and a third, allowed 1 run. That was the second run of the game. Pierce Johnson, 2 scoreless innings to finish this one off. So you get the sweep. You did okay with runners on scoring position over the weekend. They were 2 for 4 on Sunday. Like, you did okay in that regard. And you're in a streak now. You have to feel good about what happens going into a series against the Cardinals, who just got swept in a 4-game set by the New York Mets. Again, we'll get to that in the third segment. But a lot of the goodwill, a lot of the happy feelings were overshadowed by a Jarred Kelenic base running issue and then a public response from Ronald Acuña Jr. We'll break down all of that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery, the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. I eat these things all day, every day. The flavors are great. There's 8 options: smokehouse barbecue, hatch chili, dill pickle, cinnamon toast, Parmesan and pepper, jalapeno ranch, lemon pepper, and just original. A great blend of saltiness and sweetness. None of these flavors are super overpowering. It's just enough to be interesting. So what you can do, ChinookSeedery.com, 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 promo code BRAVES. Gets you 10% off your order. You have a couple options here. You can buy a sampler pack where they send you all 8 flavors to try. Shipping's free on that. Or you can buy a case that's a variety pack with bags of everything. Or build your own case. Either way, 10% off the order. Free shipping on orders over $40. ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. That's ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. Welcome back to Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby breaking down the weekend that was. And the big story ended up being Jarred Kelenic. So on Saturday, Nick Allen's on first base, bottom of the 6th. Jarred Kelenic hits a fly ball to deep right field. It goes off the bricks towards the top of the wall, and he is thrown out at second base. He initially is ruled safe. They review it. It's overturned. He is out. That was the final batter. He knocked Simeon Woods Richardson out of the game. I call him the starter. They used an opener in front of him, young player. He made his debut last year. But what ended up happening here is Kelenic thought it was gone. Kelenic thought this was a home run off the bat. He hit it at 99.9, 365 feet. It's actually a home run in 17 ballparks. Truist Park, however, not one of those. So he was not running very hard out of the box. And when the ball hit the bricks, Jarred Kelenic was just about getting to first base. But he was on the dugout side of first base. Like, he was preparing to round. He thought it was gone. It was not. He turns on the jets as soon as he sees the ball hit the bricks instead of going out, but gets thrown out at second base. Pretty bad look, right? Not a great look. Brian Snitker was asked about it after the game. It was somebody from radio. I didn't quite get exactly who it was. Atlanta does this thing in the press conference room where the crowd, where all the reporters and stuff sit, is not mic'd up. So it's just the ambient sound in the room gets picked up on the manager's mic. Just put a mic in the middle of that group or something, like a mic up in the air pointing at them or something. Anyway. Quote, did you say anything to Jarred after he watched that ball hit off the bat and then hit off the wall? And Snit said, did I say anything to him? Just way to swing the bat. Was I supposed to? We found out on Sunday that Brian Snitker he was not watching Jarred Kelenic. He was watching the ball. And so Snit did not know until somebody showed him on Sunday morning that Jarred Kelenic was not running out of the box, was not hustling out of the box. And people who are already down on Snit for thinking that he doesn't manage really well anymore and is not paying attention, that's not going to help things, right? I would argue that it's tough to watch the ball and then not question why Jarred wasn't safe at second base. That's not a play he should be thrown out on. But whatever, it happens, okay? So that's Snit's reaction on Saturday. It gets a lot of attention, right? We posted the video on Sunday morning on the channel, on the YouTube channel, by the way. The team made that available. And there's a lot of stuff written on Twitter, whatnot, about Jarred not running. And somebody asked MLB.com's Mark Bowman. The tweet that Bowman got, I missed Snit's comment on Kelenic's lack of hustle at getting thrown out at second last night. And Bowman quote tweeted that question and said he protected Kelenic by replying, "Was I supposed to?" when asked if he had said anything to Kelenic. He certainly could have said something, seeing how Kelenic's home run trot put him on the dugout side of the first base coach's box when the ball hit the wall. Somebody who did see this and had a response to this was Ronald Acuña Jr., who you will remember back in 2019 against the Dodgers, he was removed from a game after hitting a fly ball off the wall and pimping it thinking it was a homer. And he was at first base with a single. It wasn't the first time Ronald's done this. The situations are a little different. But Ronald responded to Mark Bowman's message and said, if it were me, they would take me out of the game. Because the last time he did that, he was taken out of the game. And he eventually deleted that message. It was up for about 90 minutes, I think. It was deleted before game time. But not a good look. Got a lot of attention. And Snit was asked about this after the game on Sunday. And the way that this works, by the way, the manager meets with the media before games, except for day games. Day games, the Braves don't take BP. They don't do a pre-game media availability. None of that stuff. So Snit couldn't have been asked about it until after the game on Sunday. This wasn't them ducking the media. He never talks to the media before a day game because the timeline's so compressed. So a little bit of clarification on how this works there. As somebody who sat in those press conferences, he doesn't address the media before a day game. After the game, Snit was asked about all of this, and he explained a couple things. He said, I'm not on social media. He explained he did not see the message when it came in because Snit's not on social media. I heard about it as I was walking to the dugout. I heard something was up, and then I came in, and they said it was down. I haven't talked to him, meaning Ronald Acuña Jr., so I don't know. Honestly, if Snit was on social media an hour and a half before a game, I'd be annoyed. So that's fine. Whatever. Ronald is that the response to Jarred Kelenic doing this is different from how the team has responded in the past. Ronald is correct. Ronald was benched for this. Jarred was not. And if Ronald did it now, I don't know what would happen. Would he be benched or not? But Snit also acknowledged a couple things, a little bit of nuance to this situation that we have to explain. And I think the first one is he was not aware during the game that happened. He wasn't watching Kelenic. He was watching the ball. Now, again, I think it's a little bit of a question as to whether or not you would have been curious why Kelenic was thrown out at second base on that ball, right? That ball, like, he had plenty of time to get to second, probably standing up, actually. So there is that aspect of it. Snit did say that he saw the video of it on Sunday morning and talked to Jarred Kelenic. Kelenic came into his office. Like, Kelenic initiated the conversation. Kelenic came into the office and discussed it with Snit. And Snit did acknowledge they're all different. All of the situations when they happen, they're all different. I addressed it with Jarred. And he was asked to explain a little more, pressed on elaborating that. And he said it's just the timing and all of everything. There's no blanket response to that. Quite honestly, if you want to know the truth, I wasn't watching him in that play. I know he got thrown out at second base. I didn't see it till this morning, and then I talked to him about it. Yeah, you don't run. It's a big time in the game like that. But quite honestly, I don't look for him to not do that because he plays with his hair on fire all the time. He's laying out for fly balls. I didn't know until I saw it this morning. I went in and looked at it when I got here. Then I had a discussion with him, and we got it squared away. It's not a good look. Snit comes off looking the worst here, honestly. I've seen a lot of people say that Ronald doesn't look great in this situation. It's a thing that should be handled privately. I'd counter with, Ronald's not there. Ronald's in Florida. He can't handle this personally. I guess he could text somebody or something, but so I'll acknowledge, like, nobody comes out of this looking good. Kelenic made a mistake. Snit compounded that by not realizing there was a mistake, dismissing it. And then Ronald responded to that, making it a bigger story. Nobody comes out of this looking good. To Kelenic's credit, he talked to the media on Sunday in the clubhouse. He took full responsibility. He said, he was the one. It was a mistake on his end, something he can control. He told Snit it wouldn't happen again, et cetera, et cetera. So this situation sucks, right? Nobody looks good here. Ronald doesn't look good. He might be right, but Ronald doesn't look good. Snit doesn't look good. Kelenic doesn't look good. It sucks. At the same time, I think it's over. I think it's done. There'll be a little bit of a question. I would love to know if Snit and Ronald get on the phone together. I don't know. And I'm a little curious about, is this going to come back up when Ronald rejoins the team? I don't know. But either way, for the most part, I feel like we're done with this now, and it's over with. And just a minute, let's talk about Scott Blewett. Let's talk about this Cardinals series. We'll do both of those next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today. Lindsay Crosby just breaking down the news from over the weekend. And the Braves made a trade for a reliever, cash considerations deal, the best kind of deal. Reminder on these, by the way, cash considerations is never more than $100,000. So very little money involved here with this. Scott Blewett has a couple things that you see in Atlanta player acquisition that stand out. Former second-round pick in 2014 by the Royals. It's a pedigree. AA seems to be attracted to the guys that have that pedigree, right? There's a reason this dude was drafted high. Let's see if we can figure it out. He's also been in the organization before. He signed with the Braves as a minor league free agent in 2023, pitched 70-something innings for AA Mississippi, and then became a free agent after the season and moved on going to the Minnesota Twins. He pitched with the Twins, was DFA'd on April 12th. The Orioles grabbed him off of waivers. They DFA'd him on the 19th. Atlanta made the cash deal on the 20th to bring him in. And it's weird, okay? 4 games, he's pitched 9 innings, 9 hits, 1 walk, 2 runs, 1 earned, 11 strikeouts. His ERA is 1. Little bit of luck. His expected ERA is a 156. Fielding independent pitching's 124. But, like, it's a good StatCast card. This is not the usual profile of a guy you would DFA. Never mind 2 teams DFAing him within a week. And again, I went into a lot more detail with pitch charts and all that kind of stuff in the newsletter, bravetoday.com. Go check that out. It's the series we do every time there's a new ad. What the Atlanta Braves saw in player name. This one, what the Atlanta Braves saw in Scott Blewett. Besides the unfortunate name. I don't really know why he was DFA'd unless it's just something where he pitched multiple innings and they wanted a fresh arm and they were willing to DFA him to get a fresh arm up. We've seen some teams do that recently. It's become more of a thing about churning through out of options, long relievers at the end of your bullpen. The Marlins did it a lot last year. I think the Pirates are one of those teams that might do it. Just they grab a guy off of waivers. They use him for 3 innings, or they use him twice for 2.5 innings apiece, and then they DFA him. Go to the next guy. It's just an odd thing to do, but whatever. And the Twins DFA'd him twice last year, and he re-signed with them, rejoined the organization both times. So there you go. As a pitcher, it's slider, fastball, splitter. This season, he's led with the slider. Previous years, he led with the fastball. This year, he led with the slider. Fastball behind that, splitter behind that. I think they're all fine pitches. They're not amazing, but they're all good enough. Gyro slider, above average drop, below average horizontal movement. The fastball, perfectly average induced vertical break, below average horizontal movement. The splitter, I don't think he commands it very well, the fastball. The splitter, again, above average drop, below average horizontal movement. He's really working north-south on this thing. I think it's a good arsenal. The obvious role that he could take right away is the new long man. They DFA'd Jose Suarez to bring in Scott Blewett. Suarez hadn't pitched in 10 days, which was weird in the first place. So it's entirely possible maybe he's just the new long man. I do wonder if, because of the quality of this stuff, if they use him in middle relief, though. Pierce Johnson's a guy we thought was going to be a high leverage reliever, and they've only used him 3 times after the 6th inning. Two of those times we were losing the game, and the last time was on Sunday against the Twins. We were up by 4, and he pitched the 8th and 9th innings. So Blewett might be the long man. They might use him in middle relief. We'll see what happens. They announced the deal yesterday, which is a little sooner, I feel like, than Atlanta usually does. So I'm assuming he was flying in last night. He'll probably report to the team this morning and be in the bullpen tonight. So we'll see what happens. Tonight, by the way, starts a 3-game series with the Cardinals. Again, the Cardinals are coming off being swept in a 4-game series by the Mets. So you have to feel good about the possibility here of another series win. And you've got some really interesting starters for the first 2 games of the series. Tonight, Spencer Schwellenbach versus Eric Fedde. Fedde was acquired from the White Sox. He had struggled as a starter, left and went to Korea. Much better when he came back. White Sox had him, traded him to the Cardinals. He's 2-year deal, so he's back with the Cardinals this year. Schwellenbach versus Fedde. Spencer Strider versus Andre Palante on Tuesday. That is going to be, it's Spencer to Spencer back-to-back. It's going to be tons of fun to watch. Both of those games, 7:15 p.m. So normal game times, normal broadcast stuff, FanDuel Sports South and Southeast, right? Wednesday is that rare midweek day game while school is still in. 12:15 Eastern for the Braves against the Cardinals. And it's weird because both teams, I believe, are off on Thursday. So I'm amazed the Braves didn't push for this to be a nighttime game. But 12:15 p.m. Eastern, Miles Mikolas, 0-2 with a 7.64 ERA this year against Bryce Elder, 0-1 with a 7.20 ERA. So just 2 games of teams that have dudes that are struggling to avoid bats and not allow runs on the board this year. A lot of the jokes when I put this on social media were bet the over, things like that. It's going to be a combined run total of 13.5 or something like that. We'll see what happens in this one. This has been Braves Today for Monday, April 21st. You're listening on audio. Do us a favor. Leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses nowadays. I don't know. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode. And always, bravestoday.com. Tons of content coming out there, including a new thing that's dropping every night after Atlanta's games, win or lose. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.